Welcome to the book of Shmuel Alef, Perek Chavchet, chapter 28, where we see the ultimate horror story, the story of Shaul and the witch. Yeah, that sounds like a real horror story, and it is. All right, so let's get to the story of Shaul and the witch. Where does the story catch us? The Plishtim start waging a war against Bnei Israel. They prepare for a war against Bnei Israel. Now, Achish, the king of Gat, is so trusting of David that he's like, oh, come, join us for the war against Bnei Israel. And David is like, all right, let's see. He's there with him. Stay put a second. We're going to get back to what happens with that. Meanwhile, we've seen that Shmuel died. And so you have to, and by the way, Shmuel was very religious. He taught Bnei Israel to follow Hashem. Shaul was also, despite all his shortcomings, also helped get rid of all avodah zarah and all witchcraft, and we'll see why that's important. But Shaul goes and he prepares the people for war because the Plishtim are coming to war, and he looks at the Plishtim and he sees this huge military camp and he's terrified. And this is where this chapter finds us, because Shaul is terrified, but he has nowhere to turn to. He has nothing. Shmuel has died. He can't rely on David's military help. He can't even speak to Hashem, because remember what he did to Nov, the city of the Kohanim, and Hashem is no longer on speaking terms with Shaul. And so he's terrified. He doesn't know what to do. Now, the last thing you want in life is to go to war when your king is terrified. But Shaul asks Hashem, he seeks Hashem, he asks prophets, the Urim V'Tumim, everything, and nothing. Shaul receives no communication from Hashem, which makes him even more frantic. Finally, Shaul does what should never ever be done. He decides to use witchcraft. He decides to use something called the Ov. The Ov is a kind of witchcraft, whether real or fake, whatever it is. And it's this kind of witchcraft where the person can communicate with someone who died. So the witch or the wizard communicate with someone who died. And so Shaul says, why don't we find a woman who does the Ov magic to communicate with someone who died? But it's hard to find someone because Shaul got rid of all the magic and avodah zarah, so it's hard for him to find anyone who does it. And they definitely will not service him because he's the one who's against this kind of stuff. Anyhow, Shaul goes and he dresses up. He's like, excuse me. He's like, I'm going to dress up. They won't know who I am. And then I'm going to ask the Ov person to communicate with the dead so I can get some assurance on the upcoming war. And so Shaul dresses up in a costume. He takes two people. And finally, they find a woman who is a professional witch and magician. And she communicates with the Ov and the dead. And so first, she's doing something illegal. And so when he comes to her and he says, are you someone who can communicate with the dead? She's like, me? No way! Heaven forbid! Don't you know that King Shaul made it illegal to do such things? But he's like, come on, tell me the truth. I swear to you by God, he says, I will not do anything bad to you. Nothing's going to happen to you. She doesn't know yet it's Shaul, but he's like, no, don't worry. I'm not going to get you into trouble. Shaul is asking for something illegal. Shaul is asking the Ov lady, the magician, the witch, to communicate with the dead. She's like, don't you know that's illegal? And he's like, don't worry, I'll protect you. I won't tell anybody. I won't get you into trouble. Nothing's going to happen. And so it's like a phone call, and she's like, okay, who do you want me to communicate with? Which dead person do you want me to communicate with? And Shaul says, I want you to communicate with Shmuel, the prophet. And she's like, Shmuel, the prophet? Oh my God, are you kidding me? She's terrified. She screeches. Can you imagine how scary the whole scene is? She's trying to bring Shmuel up from the dead. She's screeching. She's terrified. And finally, Shaul is like, don't be afraid. Just tell me what's going on. And she says, I've seen Shmuel come up. Some people say I saw him with Moshe and Aaron. And Shaul is like, what kind of image did that person have? And so she says, oh, it's a person with a big beard, with a big coat. And Shaul knows that it's indeed Shmuel that has risen from the dead in his ghost to speak to him. And Shmuel, speaking from the dead as a ghost, yep, you're hearing right, this is what's going on, is like, why have you called me up here? Shmuel is like, I was having a good time in Gan Eden, I was having a good time in heavens. What's going on with you guys ringing me up here with some witchcraft? What's going on? What are you doing? And so Shaul says, I am so sorry, my master, but the Plishtim are coming for war, and Hashem doesn't speak to me. He's ghosting me. He's not answering me. And no prophets, no dreams, no indication, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Now, you can see how frantic Shaul is. So Shmuel says, why are you asking me? Hashem has told you that he's unchosen you. You've violated the word of Hashem. Hashem has torn the kingdom away from you, and he's given it to David because you did not listen to Hashem and did not destroy Amalek. And so therefore, Shmuel says, you really want to know what's going to happen? You will go to war. And you know what's going to happen when you go to war? What's going to happen is Hashem is going to make you lose the war. And you know who's going to die? You and your sons are going to die. Tomorrow, your spirits are going to be in the beyond. And he says the Bnei Israel are going to lose. That's a terrifying thing. If Shaul was scared until now, you'd think that now he's much more terrified because he just heard from Shmuel that Bnei Israel are going to lose to Plishtim. Shaul is going to die, and Shaul's sons are going to die. And that's a pretty scary thing to hear. So Shaul bows down, and he's like, he didn't eat all day and all night, and he collapses on the floor. And the witch, you would actually think she's angry at him for deceiving her and not telling her he is Shaul. She's actually very sympathetic. She's like, I heard what's going on, and I risked my life to help you. Now listen to my advice. Actually, it's good advice she gives. Get something to eat. You didn't eat all day, all night. You have a war coming up tomorrow. Get to eat something. And he says, no, I can't eat. But the two people that are with Shaul are like, you should eat something. You must eat. He gets up, he sits, he eats. She prepares a whole calf. She makes a lot of food. They have a big meal, and Shaul leaves. That is the end of this dramatic chapter, Perek Chavtet. So what did we have here? What we had is horrible news. The Plishtim are gathering to fight Bnei Israel. Achish, the king of Gat, is also going to that war of the Plishtim, and he asks David to join him. Then Shmuel died, and Shaul is frantic. Nobody's talking to him. Hashem isn't talking to him. Shmuel is dead. There's no one who can help him, and he's frantic. He's like, there's a war. I don't know what to do. God is not speaking to me. He gets very scared. He looks for a witch who's going to communicate with the dead, but it's hard to find because he's the one who made that all illegal. And finally, he gets dressed up as a regular guy, goes with two people. They go to this witch. They're like, can you call us someone from the dead? She's like, me? No way. I can't do that illegal thing. And he's like, please, I swear to you, nothing bad is going to happen to you. She says, who should I call up? He tells her, call Shmuel. She calls Shmuel, and Shmuel rises, his ghost rises from the dead. And it's so freaky, and they're so scared. And Shmuel is like, why'd you call me here? I was having a nice time. And Shaul says, look, they're gathering to war against me. I don't know what to do. The Plishtim are gathering against me. What should I do? And Shmuel is like, sorry, you violated the word of Hashem. You didn't kill Amalek. You deserve any punishment that comes to you. Actually, if you really want to know what's happening in this war, then you should know that you, Shaul, are going to die, your sons are going to die, and Bnei Israel are going to lose. And so he's done with that. And Shaul then collapses on the floor. He didn't eat all day, all night. And the woman of the Ov actually is like, make sure you eat, and she gets him food. That is chapter 28. And if you didn't think this was enough drama, just wait till next chapter, Perek Chavtet 29.